Fresh off a 5-7 season and a new head coach in Hugh Freeze, the 2023 Auburn Tigers are looking for redemption. Hugh Freeze is entering his first full season as the head coach of the Auburn Tigers after previously coaching at the University of Liberty. Hugh Freeze is a very controversial figure in the world of college football because during his time at Ole Miss, he was involved in a recruiting scandal where he was hiring hookers and prostitutes to sleep with recruits on their visits, among other things. Now, the irony of all of that is that Liberty is actually a Christian religious university, so the fact he did what he did at Ole Miss with the prostitutes and the recruits and all of that, and ended up getting a head job at Liberty, kind of makes me laugh. But hey, all in all, Hugh Freeze is a great offensive-minded coach, and recruits really love playing for the guy. And hell, everyone deserves a second chance. So, moving on. Now, Robbie Ashford just completed a season in which he started 9 games, and during those 9 games, he passed for 1,600 yards and 7 touchdowns, while also rushing for 710 yards and another 7 touchdowns. Now, Robbie Ashford is the true definition of a dual-threat quarterback. He can run, he can extend plays, he can go off script, but the problem with Robbie Ashford is his progression and it's his decision-making as a passer. Now, I would say this also. Auburn didn't have one single receiver last year that had over 500 yards receiving, so they didn't have any real talent at the position, so maybe that was a factor. And also Hugh Freeze being an offensive-minded head coach and surrounding him with better talent at the receiver position will help. But all in all, it is Robbie Ashford's job to lose right now. But I will say this. They just recently got a transfer commit from Peyton Thorne, who started 2 years at Michigan State. And Peyton Thorne is more of a game manager. He's very conservative. He kind of reminds me of a Alex Smith type quarterback. He's not going to make many mistakes, but he also isn't going to blow the roof off the place, if you will. He's not dynamic. He's not going to run and extend plays. That isn't his game. So right now, it is Robbie Ashford's job to lose, but I would not be surprised if Peyton Thorne ended up starting. Now, let's talk about the offensive line. The offensive line is horrendous. They're only returning one starter at the position, and Hugh Freeze wasted no time hitting the transfer portal. Now, in the 2023 class, Hugh Freeze actually brought in 20 players via the transfer portal from numerous colleges. But he made sure to address the offensive line need. He brought in 3 offensive line transfers who is going to start on day 1, in my opinion. 3 of those offensive line transfers who will be starting, in my opinion, are Avery Jones from East Carolina, Gunnar Britting from Western Kentucky, and I'm missing one, Dylan Wade from Tulsa. Those 3 guys are looking to come in and start immediately. Now, let's talk about that receiver position. The receiver position was horrendous last year. So once again, Hugh Freeze went to the transfer portal and brought in 3 really good guys. Now, those guys are Shane Hooks from Jackson State. If you watch Jackson State or follow the Deion story at Jackson State at all, you will know that Shane Hooks is a really legit receiver. I mean, he was a top receiver on their team last year. Many people believe he has a chance to go play in the NFL someday. So Shane Hooks is a huge upgrade at the position. And they also brought in guys like Caleb Burton. Caleb Burton came from Ohio State. He was a highly touted receiver coming out of high school. But as we all know, if you go to Ohio State and you play in the receiver position, you're going to be going against guys that probably all going to end up going within the first 2 rounds. Let's just call it what it is. So the reason that Caleb Burton didn't play at Ohio State isn't because he wasn't good enough. It's because he was behind guys like Marvin Harrison and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson, on and on, right? He was just buried behind the depth chart. Now, a guy that I believe people are asleep on is Jair Shorter out of University of North Texas. I actually watched some film of this kid last year. He's a very good receiver, and he's looking to come in and make an impact immediately, and they need him to. Last but not least is Nick Martiner from Cincy. He's another receiver from Cincy that's looking to come in and add a dynamic to this offense. Now let's talk about the running back position. The running back position got a transfer from Brian Batty from the University of South Florida. He had a good season last year at University of South Florida. He's another back. He's shifty. He has a little power to him. So he's looking to come in and add a dynamic to this offense. Now let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. The defense gave up 30 points per game and was ranked 10th in the SEC. So this is the biggest upgrade Auburn needs. They are on the same as Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M. So they're going to have to play some defense there. They're going to have to get timely stops, and they're going to have to do it fast. If not, they're going to get wiped out every game in the SEC. So let's talk about this defense and what do they have so far. The defensive line will be losing players like Derek Hall and Kobe Wooden to the NFL, while also retaining players like Marcus Harris and Jason Jones. The linebacking core will lose its top linebacker in Owen Pappoe to the NFL, but they will be returning players like Cam Riley and Wesley Steiner, while also adding transfers in Austin Keys from Ole Miss and Demario Tolan from LSU. Demario Tolan is a very talented, highly regarded recruit coming out of high school. He ended up going to LSU. Now he's transferring to Auburn. I expect big things out of him. I expect him to immediately come in and start. Now, the defensive backs have the most experience on the defense. They're going to be returning, a couple guys over there. And my final record prediction for this 2023 Auburn Tigers team is 6-6. I have them losing games versus Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Bama. And guys, I really wouldn't be shocked if they go 5-7, 4-8, because like I mentioned earlier in my video, they're going to be losing 4 starters on the offensive line, whether they either transferred or going to the NFL. They're also going to be replacing all the receivers, so they're going to be breaking in a whole new receiving core with Shane Hooks, Caleb Burton, and all the guys I mentioned earlier. And also they're going to be breaking in a new running back transfer from South Florida. So you couple in all of that, it's pretty much a new offense with a new offensive philosophy, a new offensive coordinator. So it's going to be a tough year for the Auburn Tigers, but give Hugh Freeze time to put together some great recruiting classes, to install his system, and also get the type of players he wants and needs in the program. They do got to play Texas A&M every year. They got to play Ole Miss every year. They got to play Alabama every year, and they also got to play LSU every year. So this is a hard job to go in and be successful at, because you are in the SEC, and there's a lot of sharks on that side of the SEC. Now let's talk about recruiting. According to 247sports.com, the Auburn Tigers are sitting at number 2 currently in the latest recruiting rankings. And some of those key players I like for the 2024 class includes Walker White. Walker White is a 4-star quarterback out of Arkansas, and he is the type of guy Hugh Freeze wants. He can pass the ball all over the field. He can make a lot of those difficult throws, and I'm very much looking forward to him playing at Auburn. Now, Amon Lane. Amon Lane is a cornerback out of Alabama, and he's a great technician at cornerback. And one thing I'm noticing with this class already for the 2024 class for the Auburn Tigers is that he's trying to keep all the good players in state. He's trying to keep all the top players from Alabama in state, which is going to be hard to do when you got Nick Saban up the road, but so far so good. And another player that I like in this class is Jaden Lewis, a cornerback out of Alabama. Also, I like the running back Jamario Burnett out of Alabama. So those are my top 4 players I like in this recruiting class. So far, they're all 4 stars in the class. I think they got 1 or 2 3 stars. But all in all, it is shaping up to be a very impressive recruiting class. And I cannot wait to see what Hugh Freeze does in the future at Auburn, as far as building the team, as far as the offenses, because Jordan Hare is one of the best college football environments in all of college football. So if he's able to come in and win and put on some impressive offenses there, it's going to be electric every Saturday at Jordan Hare. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Auburn Tigers do this year. This is your boy Tater Too Real, where we always keep it too real. Holla.